This is Sunrise Sunset, the Jewish Family in Transition, and I'm Audrey Gordon. We're going to have an hour special today on a subject that's usually not talked about very much. We're going to talk about what it means to be fat, a woman, and Jewish, and we hope that you enjoy this special show. I'd like to introduce some of my guests today. This is Carol Kleinberg, and what did you want to call this show?
A Zaftig.
Why did you want to call it Zaftig?
I like the connotation of Zaftig. I think it's a little happier, it means, I think, abundant. It has some fun attached to it.
Do you like it if somebody says you're Zaftig?
No.
So all that fun isn't really as fun as it sounds?
I have a hard time being identified as fat and Jewish.
I see. Okay. Gail Stein, you're a psychotherapist and you do special work with people in weight awareness groups, right?
Right. I do work with people. It's my contention that everywhere we go, we're rewarded for either being fat or thin or losing or gaining. And so I try to provide an atmosphere for people to have a place of acceptance so that we know where we're starting from. I think we try not to do that. If you called me up and said, how do I get to your house? I would say, well, where are you coming from? Mm-hmm. And if you said, well, it doesn't matter, I just want to get to your house. I think many of us do that with our weight. I want to get thin. I want to lose weight, but we don't really acknowledge what our weight does for us and how we are right now.
You mean we don't acknowledge what it means to be thin and what it means to be fat? To be fat,
and that there might be some positive parts of being fat. For example, when I get into a small car, I can say to somebody, I can't sit in the back seat, I'm too fat. That's one off-the-cuff advantage, possibly. I think there's many deeper advantages and a whole range of them for different people at different times that need to be looked at. If we didn't need it at some point in our life, we probably wouldn't have it.
Honest to God, would you want to be fat if you weren't?
I don't want to be fat, and I am.
Okay, all right. It's fat. There's a national group now for people who are fat and like it and want to be accepted as they are, which is fine, but I wonder whether it is really acceptable.
I think the difference, Audrey, is that I don't want to be fat, but I no longer look at myself as this awful person or feel as grotesque as I used to feel as a fat person. Mm-hmm. And so I have much more tolerance for me as a person, mm-hmm. and I happen to be fat mm-hmm. with it.
Okay. This is Joan Goldman, and would you like to tell us a little bit about where you are?
Now or all my life?
Wherever.
Fat all my life, with the exception of the time when I got married, when I lost considerable weight, which seems to be a common experience among women, mm-hmm. and then gained it back as I was having children. But it has not held me back in any of my activities, very active in the community, and but it's there. And I'm not happy with it, right. And I wish it would go away.
Mm-hmm. And you make strenuous efforts at making it
Constantly.
Go away. Constantly. And,
yes.
They're
not terribly successfully.
Well, they're successful for a while.
Oh, yeah.
And then they're not.
We call that the yo-yo, right. Putting it on, taking it off, putting
right.
it back on, taking it off.
But you've never gotten back to your newly married
No.
state.
No. No. And don't ever expect to. I would like to be thinner, but don't expect to be that thin again.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Sima Wagman?
Well, I've just reached the point where I'm comfortable. I've accepted it. I've always been heavy. I'm heavy now, and I probably, unless a miracle happens, will remain heavy. And I just dress it up the best I can afford to and try not to dwell on it too much. It's too depressing. And it depresses people around you if you're unhappy about it and unhappy with yourself. And if you sort of put it behind you, you can go on to other things.
Didn't you do something that a lot of people talk about doing, or magic staples or something? What was it you did?
They staple the stomach. They make it much, much smaller. The thing that happens, though, is it's only good for a short time because the stomach stretches out from the natural weight of water and food. And it did stretch out, and I lost a considerable amount of weight and gained some of it back. So I'm back where I started.
You're back where you started before the surgery,
no,
totally?
I'm back where I started to dieting, groups, and so on, if I choose to. I have chosen not to do that anymore. I find the groups extremely depressing, some of them. And when you dwell on it that much, on weight and being heavy and overweight, and you discuss it so much, it's like beating a dead horse. It's not going to go away overnight. Didn't come on overnight. There are other things that are more important, as long as your health is okay.
But health is an important factor because we're bombarded by the whole society telling us and that being fat is going to make us sick.
But losing and gaining is worse for your health than
Yes, I
staying at
know.
a stable weight.
But if you have a sore toe, the doctor tells you it's because you're fat. No matter what your complaint is, it's because you're fat.
I changed doctors.
Well, no, the interesting thing about it is I know the doctor, and he's fat. I mean, have you never gone to a physician who says to you, you must lose weight, and there he sits, I mean, all in his glory.
Yeah.
And for men, it doesn't seem to be quite the same sort of stigma.
I was going to ask if you think that doctors do that more to women anyway, since
Yes.
we're talking about being
Yes.
women as well as being
Yes,
fat.
I do. I think that they do that because for men, size is a source of their power and strength and imposing, you know, that they feel their presence in the world, and that men don't seem to make comments about men being fat.
You don't think that's true for women too?
I-
That there's a feeling of power?
Oh,
and
yes, of course.
Absolutely.
presence and sense.
Especially when women are often feeling very helpless
Yeah.
and small and insignificant.
Well, I have to contribute to this because I've asked each of you about where you were. You see, and I didn't say where I'm coming from in this particular program because I've lost over the last 8 or 9 years a total of 90 pounds, of which I've put back 15. It's making me feel fat right now. But I spent 20 years of my life in the half-size clothes and the large-size shops and thought I would never be normal size, I think is the way to put it again. And I know that at a point where I was exploring why I was fat, this was before I lost the weight, but I knew why I was fat, that people would not see me, that I would disappear, that there would be a lack of, you know, oh, she's here, that my presence would not be quite as felt if I wasn't quite as big, that there is very definitely a sense of strength and power associated with it. But experiencing myself in a normal size in the last 2 years, which is all it's been for me, people's responses are so different to me. I was wondering whether you think that people's responses are different to you because of your size. I mean, I know how I didn't want to pay attention to the fact that I was fat before. There were always other things that I wanted to do, other talents that I wanted to show people or parts of my personality, but I certainly didn't want to focus on things that had to do with size or clothes or whatever.
Audrey, were you heavy most of your life?
No,
You were
no.
not.
See, I had a thin mind. People would talk to me, and I would say, well, inside in my head I'm thin, which is why I could ignore that outside I was really fat. I was 240 pounds.
I think that makes a difference in losing weight, though, because I too, like the other two ladies, have been fat all my life.
I was
always.
Zaftig. In other
But what
words,
does
my
that mean?
mother.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah, my mother liked you. There was something to pinch.
Yeah.
Okay. There was something to pinch, but I wore an 11 in high school, a 13. I mean, that
Well,
sort
I was
of
an
thing.
18.
No.
See, I was not. I seem to relate with you a little bit more. Throughout high school, I was maybe 15, 20 pounds overweight,
Yeah,
which for me
right.
is nothing. I
Right.
mean, God, give me 15, 20 pounds only, and I'd be happy
Yeah.
today. Right.
Die happy.
I felt fat, though. I thought I was fat, and when I look back at pictures of me, I get very angry sometimes to think that I felt fatter at that
Yes.
weight than I do
Yes,
sometimes at this weight.
Well, I had thighs. I think they were hereditary, and I never liked being in a bathing suit because I felt it was massive. When I look now, I know what you feel like.
Yeah.
What is we're all Jewish women. What does being Jewish have to do with this? Do you think that there's a correlation between being fat and Jewish?
I don't.
You don't?
No. I think it has to do with food in general. So much of our social activity is based around food. Holidays, you're gorging yourselves from the minute.
But Sima,
Except for Yom
in the
Kippur.
Jewish culture, we tend to base our activities on food, where there are other cultures that base their activities on drink or other kinds of socializing that do not have the laden tables that we expect.
I had a wonderful story. My mother was one of these great servers of,
Yes.
3 different entrees and 4 vegetables, and just huge piles of food out on the table anytime there was company. And she was overweight also. And my sister had a boyfriend once who snuck around to the house on an off night when we weren't having company, because he wanted to peek in through the window to see if we really ate like that when people weren't there, and we did. That's just the way it was. There was always more.
But there's so many cultures that
There are some others.
that do base everything on feasting, where there is drink and food as well.
I think it's an American thing, not just a Jewish thing, because the black mother wants her children to be well fed, the Polish mother, the Italian mother.
But now
of
you're
course.
talking about ethnic groups that relate to us in terms of what food means to them. In other words, we're very oral people, and we have a lot of food connected with our holidays. And Judaism, in many ways, the table is an altar. After all, the Passover Seder is not something that you go to the synagogue for. And you have it with your meal and the
But
association.
there's an Easter feast
Oh, no.
and a Christmas
Yes.
dinner and all the holidays.
We do it
Christian
every
hol-
Friday, though. Every
I
Friday.
don't know that I've not thought about being fat and Jewish probably as much as I've thought about being fat and being a woman. But I don't know that we can separate any of that out. I mean, I think it all.
Except
It's
percentages,
combined.
perhaps. Since you invited me to be on the show, I've been looking around and trying to count. And it does seem as though more of the Jewish women, more of the heavy women I know are Jewish.
But are more of the women you know Jewish, first of all?
Not really, no.
Okay.
Let me, a little background. In Eastern Europe, from whence many Jews come, it was a sign of prosperity for not only for the woman to be fat, but for the children to be fat, because it meant that the husband was providing well enough for his family that there was sufficient food on the table. And this also leads us to the wonderful custom of the woman eating last after the husband and the children, which I hope doesn't take place anymore, but that there was enough food first to go around to the husband who needed it for his work and the energy and so forth, and then to the children, and then the woman eating last, cleaning up the leftovers in the kitchen and so forth. But to have a fat child meant that you were prosperous. And as a matter of fact, there were times in our history when how many chins you had meant that your husband was also very
I
prosperous.
should have lived in those days.
Yes, right. We should all have
Weight
been
in
Rubens
gold.
models, right?
I'd like to have my weight in gold.
Especially today.
Right. But what I'm suggesting is that I think there is a dynamic. I know that I have grown adult children, none of whom are obese. But when my children were babies, and I know that you have children too, my mother was crazy if I didn't feed them enough and
absolutely.
more, and is that enough dinner for you?
Absolutely.
And I have a sister-in-law now who has very young children. My brother started much later than I did, and my mother, when it was skim milk for babies and no sugar on this for babies, and my sister-in-law being very health conscious and very much into modern pediatric practice, was limiting babies, and that my mother went out of her mind.
Mine too. Mine too.
Well, so what? Don't tell me it's not Jewish.
And
then I think there is.
I raised particularly my daughter. I was really concerned. My experience with my mother was that she always said, "Fat ruined my life. I don't want it to ruin yours."
Yes.
But never changed anything in the house. There was all this food constantly and this pattern of eating. So I determined whether, first of all, that fat wasn't going to ruin my life. No way. And second of all, that I was going to have at least normal eating patterns in the house so that I didn't carry on to the next generation what's been carried on all these generations before. So I probably was fanatic the other way in feeding my kids healthfully, and my mother used to be. She used to just get, how can you're starving your child?
Yeah, but what makes that Jewish? I think that's just something, a quality of mothers, that they want the children to look healthy.
Yeah, but looking healthy is what? For some people, healthy is lean.
I'm not sure when it comes to babies that that's true, in any culture. In any culture. When I, in my mind, think of pictures I've seen of all cultures, the babies are always cherubs.
My mother used to tell me that I was underweight as a baby.
I was also.
I was very underweight. And I've seen pictures, and I was a cute baby, and I was not underweight. I was normal. But there was nothing underweight about me. In her mind, I was underweight.
I was very fat as a baby, and I was very anxious that my children would not be, so that I put them on a diet of skim milk when they were 4 months old, because of my concern that they wouldn't have a weight problem.
Did you do the same thing, Sima?
No, it wasn't a problem. He was a healthy eater as a baby, and I never had a problem with judging how much of this he should have or how much of that. His weight was always very well balanced and in line with what the doctor felt was healthy.
Joan, was yours a girl child?
I have 2 boys and a girl.
The one that you were worrying about
It was
first?
2, a boy and a girl.
But I think
As a matter of fact, the 3rd one, too, was a very big baby, and I had him on skim milk, too.
But the country has changed. The viewpoints in this country have changed so in the last, 20, 25 years, where there wasn't as much stress put on individual fitness and running and jogging for the individual to remain healthy. You only went to the doctor if you didn't feel well, if there was an existing condition. You didn't, and the doctor told you to exercise. You didn't exercise because you wanted to.
How old were you when you started on pills?
Oh.
Diet,
Which pills?
diet pills.
Excuse me, diet pills. Dropping Quaaludes.
I think I was 10.
Birth control pills.
Well, birth control pills I took at 10 milligrams when they were not on the market yet, and they put 40 pounds on me. I mean, that was
That's
a
right.
big...
They put 40 pounds on you?
Well,
or
it's-
you put
I
40
put it
pounds on with them for an excuse?
Well, that's
There
possibly
is a
true.
certain amount that goes on
There was a
with it.
combination. I mean,
It's
I looked
probably
around
there's a
6 months
hormonal
later, and I
change.
had 40 pounds on me, and at the time, there was not enough data out. I mean, we're talking about 17 years ago.
Well, what I'm interested in is that I have 2 children that are both grown adults, and neither of them have a weight problem. If anything, my daughter has always been very thin. And I was a very young mother, and so I had a mother-in-law particularly who just was on me constantly because she was too thin, she didn't eat enough. But I think that I really tried to respect letting my children eat what they wanted. And that is one of the things that I'm not sure we got in our generation.
That we
We were
couldn't what we
forced
wanted.
to eat when we didn't want to eat. We couldn't leave the table until
Couldn't
it was
have dessert
finished.
until you
Couldn't have dessert
finished.
until you finished the meal. And lots of emphasis was around food. I don't know about all of you because I don't know any of you that well, but I know that there was much more room in my household for my children to express their feelings also.
yes.
And so it wasn't that they came in angry and I said, oh, sit down and have a cookie so quickly.
Yeah.
They could scream and yell and swear at me. Of course, it sent me into therapy, but maybe I ate more. than
You've brought up an important point. What connection do you think there is between feelings and putting food in your mouth?
I think there's a big connection. At least for me, there is. And I'm talking about good feelings as well as bad feelings.
Right, mine too.
Okay. I think often I get really frightened. And I have seen that in clients, I've seen that in friends. When I feel too intensely, anything too intensely is frightening. And so I get scared and I'm going to go eat. And I hear I'm coming to be on this television program today. And what did I do this morning? I searched my house for food. I mean, I couldn't find anything because my house is pretty empty. But I really wanted to eat.
Yeah.
I was very much in touch with that.
What kind of a feeling does it give you inside when you eat? I mean, how does it calm the intensity of the feelings?
I think it depends. Sometimes I just eat and I'm not even aware of what I'm feeling. Sometimes it just keeps me busy. Sometimes I love ice cream. I think certain foods are nurturing.
Yes, they slide down.
That's right.
Yes.
Ice cream does
Those
it.
are oral
Oatmeal.
foods, yes.
Oatmeal does it.
Oh, I hate oatmeal.
Bananas do
Soup.
it. Soup,
I'm
right?
a
Warm
soup freak.
I mean, it's kind of, for me, sometimes it's symbolic of having, that warm, nurturing
Right, exactly.
mother or father or all-perfect person that never exists for any of us.
It's also a good shield. Weight.
What does it shield you from?
It shields your personality. That if you're unhappy, you can blame it all on your weight.
So that if you're not the person that you would like to be,
That's right. You
The
can say
weight
it's
is the
because
reason.
of my weight.
I'm wondering if there's a feeling message that Jewish women get that relates to the using food as a
food is love. And it has been
Self-love.
but it's also when a mother is feeding. Look, I feed people at my table, I enjoy doing that. I enjoy cooking for other people and watching them eat. I've been accused of all of the bad things about, what is it, eat. I had an Italian couple at my table last week, and she turned to her husband, she says, mangia, mangia. I mean, it's the same thing. Just it translates in every language that the dynamic is the same. Have a little of this, have a little of that. So in a sense, we're giving of ourselves. When we cook for other people, we say, we care about you. And I think when my kids come home from out of town where they live, I think about this kid likes the prime rib and the Caesar salad, and this one likes the shrimp Creole. We think in terms of pleasing people with food.
Which brings up the dynamic of whether we worry about pleasing others before we worry about pleasing ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And do we impose our ways onto somebody else? Because one of the things you said, I started to think, we say eat, eat, but maybe that's not really taking care of somebody else.
That's right.
And maybe it's just the way we think that is, and then we tell that to somebody else.
Do we really think so, though?
It may have been a way that we've been taught.
That's right. What I'm saying is, I think it's pattern.
Okay, I think it is too.
It's a pattern of saying, this is how we care about you.
I mean, and I think it's the same pattern that, I don't know, it's hard for me to sit back and let people that I care about experience their own things. I want to jump in and save them, and my kids, I don't want them to go through the pain.
Yeah.
I don't want good friends to go through it. And I think that's the same way as feeding somebody.
Mm-hmm.
The same kind of thing. And I have to remind myself that we all learn by experiencing it.
I worked in a women's clothing shop of large sizes. There were several shops. It was a small chain. And I found it very interesting, the variations in the women. There were women that came in that were terribly nasty, unhappy individuals, and looked it. They were dowdy, not well kept. I mean, the clothes were okay, but they weren't well taken care of. And then you would have a woman come in, equally as heavy, but had taken the time to fix herself up. Her personality was pleasing. She could smile. It didn't hurt her to smile. And I think that when you have to look at it and see how people have adjusted to
Accepted.
adjusted to weight, and you wonder why does the weight problem have such an effect on the personality? Because the people don't accept it, they don't adjust to it, and they don't know how to deal with it.
Okay, you said that it keeps us from doing things sometimes. But I wonder if I would be where I am today if it wasn't for the fact that I'm fat. That's a question that's crossed my mind. I was always taught and told that I was very beautiful. And there's this kind of fallacy that everybody's going to be waiting at my door. And you don't have to learn certain things, and you don't have to do certain things. And I sometimes wonder if my gaining weight, particularly after I got divorced and got out into the world, if a part of it anyway, wasn't a way of saying to people, I want you to see me as a person. I want you to see who I am inside, what I am about.
It's interesting.
And take me seriously.
It's an opposite message, because I've always had the message, you're so pretty if only you'd lose
Oh, yeah, I
weight.
had that too.
Such a
I did
pretty
too.
It's like life is held in abeyance for that Neverland day,
how we
you
wait.
can't do anything
we
till
wait
you lose
with
weight.
The weight
Right.
is what it is.
See, in hindering, I was thinking physically, not in achievement.
Yeah.
Because I think you can achieve, if you really want to, and you've got what it takes to do it, you will achieve it.
Mm-hmm.
You will have more obstacles, but that doesn't mean you won't achieve it.
There's a lot of prejudice against weight.
Well, that's what I think that group is about that Audrey mentioned at the beginning. They are fighting to be recognized and accepted, fat or not fat.
And not discriminated against in terms
Right.
of job selections and things
Right.
like that.
I used to think that I was hiding behind my fat, that it was a shield, as you mentioned. But I don't feel that way anymore. I don't think my life would be any different if I were thinner. I would be happier, but I don't think my life would be any different.
I don't either.
And I think a lot of people, and this I should ask you because you're down away, a lot of people think when they lose a great amount of weight, everything's going to be right in their life. Their whole life's going to be beautiful. Is
Well,
it
my
true?
life-
And then they're disappointed when that doesn't happen.
No, well, but my life changed radically, and it was me. I mean, I understood that it was a shield for me, that my weight was a defense against feelings that I had, feelings about myself, feelings about an unhappy marriage that I was in, feelings of if I'm fat, then I won't attract any males and no males will be attracted to me, and therefore I can protect myself from these kinds of feelings that I would have. But when I was living alone, you know, in the last several years, people's responses to me were terribly different. First, just being able to dress in clothes that were normal clothes.
But that depends what comes first, the chicken or the egg. Did you get thin because your life changed, or did your life change because you got thin? I think you got thin because your life changed.
That's right. That's entirely true. I became...
And that's a whole different story.
I got thin because my life changed. I did not go to groups. I did not take pills. It just, as a matter of fact, I have no idea, as I've said to you before, exactly how it happened. I mean, one time I was 25 pounds down, and then another time I was 40, and another time it turned around I was 55. I never set out to diet.
But there's still an issue where, and you, and for me, when I was down, couldn't get that last 15 pounds off. Couldn't be.
Well, I was very
thin.
happy 15 pounds ago. I just
Right.
put them on in the last 6 months
Right.
because I'm involved with somebody and I'm cooking,
But
which I
15
didn't
pounds ago, you still wanted to go 15
do. Sure,
pounds
I suppose
more.
that's probably
Right.
true.
But I'm talking about the people that want to lose a large amount of weight because they think at the end of that rainbow, life is going to be beautiful. And then they're terribly disappointed when they get there and find out their lives really haven't changed at all.
Because they haven't
But
changed.
yeah, but what I was going to say is that my life has changed to the extent that people who've known me for a long time, you've known me for a long time, you've known me for a long time, say that I'm warmer, nicer, that I come across in a softer way than I did before when I felt that I had to be tough and imposing and all of those other things. And
you don't
I
need the
feel
barrier.
friendlier. I feel like I could go up to, I never felt that way because I always had a feeling in the back of my mind of what are they thinking about me when they first see me. I mean, I had to have this rush about here's who I am, don't look at the fat.
And I was accused the other way. When I was thin, I was told that I wasn't as nice as I am when I'm heavy.
We spend so much of our energy in weight, worrying about whether what we're going to eat or what we're going to cook or losing weight. So much of our mental life is involved in some way or other around the food and around the weight that, for me anyway, the experience when I was down was scary. Not only did I not know who I was when I looked in the mirror,
Oh, well.
but I had this whole pattern of thinking and acting that had to be drastically changed consistently. I was able to change it enough so that I'm very different than I was. I've gained back some of the weight, obviously, but I'm not, I was 230 pounds when I started this. I haven't gained weight in a long time, so I'm comfortable, I'm stable. But that period of time when I was down was scary. I used to worry about men looking at me because they told me that I would, if I was thin, I'd have to beat off men with a broomstick. That was
And did you?
No, only a few Latin types on some street corners gave me a little look, but that's all. And I didn't know why that wasn't, it was real scary, real strange
Well,
dichotomy
you know,
going
I
on.
think that you work with loss, I know.
Yes?
And I think that,
Yeah.
and I've thought about this quite
It's
a
a
bit.
grief.
Yes.
It's a grieving.
That if I say to you, I lost my best friend, you'd say, oh,
Yeah.
how can I help you? If I say I
Right.
lost my keys, can I help you find it? I say I lost 100 pounds, you say that's wonderful.
Marvelous.
How come
I lost
I don't
half
feel
myself.
inside
Yeah.
so good? And I think that's a real
Yeah.
problem.
I grieved. I have to tell you that, first of all,
lost a friend, somebody who was there for a long time for us.
I once was walking down Water Tower, which is all mirrored at one point. And you know how you look in the mirror to see, I didn't see me. I didn't see myself.
Right.
I mean, I could not identify myself in the
It's
crowd.
been frightening.
Real scary.
Very scary. I got up in the morning, and this is when I was the thinnest. I mean, I would look at myself in the mirror, who is that? I was not quite sure. But you see, I did one thing that, you know, none of the others of you have done, which is after I lost the weight and I went into my physician for a checkup, he looked at me and he said, you are now out of proportion in terms of your breasts. He said, you must have surgery. And I was. I mean, I was easily larger than you.
Thank you.
I was an E.
Well, see, my outlook is it has to stick out farther than my stomach.
Well, I didn't see my feet for such a long time. I mean, it's really strange to be able to get to them. But I had surgery, which then was a mourning process because I lost that part of myself, a maternal symbol. But my whole body image changed, and I lost me. And it took me nearly a year to be able to look in the mirror and say, hey, that's who you are.
You had physical problems from it too, because your whole
Well,
balance
yes,
changed.
I wound up with a cervical disc injury, which is going to be part of me for the rest of my life because I was so used to being forward in terms of balance that when I was able to stand up straight and not have the
Well,
weight, I've got a cervical
Those are the
disc.
things that I'm very interested in. I'm also, when you talk about not being able to see yourself, if you just logically look at when you lose weight and you walk into this room, you are smaller in relation to the size of this room than you
Yes.
were when you were bigger, which may be analogous to being a little child and feeling little and helpless in this large world. And I don't think that there's enough work being done with that area.
Well, you do a lot of work with body imaging and perceptions of weight. What are some of the things that you could perhaps let some people in on?
Oh, God. Well, I haven't done a whole lot with the body image. I've thought about it. I think that each person has to come to their own dealings with it. But I think to ignore it is what's been done, and that's what the problem has been. To know that somebody else understands that, and to know that that's not unusual, and that you're just not going to lose weight and feel wonderful and exciting. And it's not just a matter of, oh, well, when I'm fat, men aren't attracted to me. I mean, sometimes you find that men are attracted to you
I
when
was
you're
about
fat,
to say,
too.
you really think
Listen,
that that's true, that all men like thin women? I don't.
The world goes around, viva la difference.
My husband was upset at the topic today. He said, that's not what, he said, you people, he knows Audrey, he knows me, obviously he knows me. He said, you should be talking about what it's like to be such terrific, successful, effective, charming, brilliant women.
Oh, I like your
widowed.
husband.
Yeah, he said,
I was
why
widowed.
talk about fat?
Very young, and I had a 3-year-old child. They said, oh, you've got to lose weight. You need a father for your child. And I said, just a minute. Where does it say that he has to have a father? And where does it say I have to be thin in order to find a man? And where does it say all these things, these words of wisdom? And I went on to prove that that's not true. I have a very fine son that grew up without a father because I've heard too many things of when a woman remarries, there's always a power struggle there. There's always a jealousy, and I didn't want to deal with that. I have been very fortunate. I have dated a number of men, and a lot of them were ongoing, long-term relationships, 8, 9, 10 years. And that's not true. There are men that are comfortable with heavy women, like heavy women, for a number of reasons. Their egos generally
My
are
husband's,
not as large.
my
There's
husband's
a lot of
response to
problems
this was,
not there.
I didn't mean to interrupt
That's
you,
all
I'm sorry. That as long as I'm happy with myself, he's happy with me. It's not when my weight is up and I'm unhappy and I don't accept who I am and I get really nasty at those times when I'm not happy, then he is uncomfortable. But it has nothing to do with the weight. Where I am weight-wise is not the issue with him. He always feels that I'm the woman that he wants to be married to.
Do you think that sometimes men feed their wives in order to keep them fat?
Yes,
Safe?
yes.
I mean, I know that I
Yes.
had that
I
as
think
a
it happens in
problem.
other relationships besides husband and wife
Okay.
relationships, too.
Yes. That once they got you, or they think they do, that it keeps you safe from anybody else?
And then you'll stay
I
there.
met a man that way. I had just lost a lot of weight and was having a field day going out and buying clothes for this new
Yes.
size that I didn't happen to have in the closet. And he would come over during the week because I couldn't go out. I had a young child. He was bringing food over constantly. And I did put weight back on, and the relationship became more settled. And he thought, fine, she's gained back the weight. We talked about it. And he thought, well, this way, I know where you are.
Sabotage.
Right. They think that, just because you're heavy and they liked you doesn't mean someone else
Okay,
liked
how
you.
much of that do we do to ourselves so that we know where we are, so that we don't
It's a
run
shield.
out and run wild and live this hedonistic,
Right.
wonderful, exciting
Which I got to do,
lifestyle
you
that we're
see.
not supposed to do if we're nice Jewish
No,
girls.
what you got to, no, the director on the show, when we were talking about it a couple of weeks ago, said to me, "How'd you lose the weight?" And I said, "Chinese food and sex," and he wanted to make sure that I said that on television.
Would you like to explain
Yeah.
Chinese food and sex?
Yes,
or
right.
Imagine.
No,
At the same
stir fry,
Use a walk?
stir fry foods, are
Right.
not many protein things,
Right.
a lot of vegetables. So I ate many Chinese stir-fried vegetables with chicken and shrimp and things that are basically low calorie. They're never dairy. They're never high in cholesterol.
And
So I did a lot of that. But at the same time, because I was separated,
You did a lot of that,
I
too.
did a lot of the other two, which was, an experience for me in terms of multiple relationships, having been married for many years, having some very attractive men that I thought I could never in my life attract. I mean, me?
Were you self-conscious
In what way?
in terms of your own body image?
You mean sexually? Initially, I was rather proud, considering what had been. I mean, and again, there was a sense of it's not me. This is me. I mean, this is me walking around looking like that.
And they become very infatuated with the large breast. They don't see a lot of the other. That's always a fact.
Well, I certainly know that my weight held me down, just like my getting married very young held me down from some of the things that I think I was afraid
got
to
married at
experience.
18.
Yes, I did too. And when I know we're the same age, and you have
Right.
grown children, so I
Right.
assumed that was similar. And I certainly didn't explore myself sexually until I was divorced.
Right.
And I think it was a real important part of something for me to do, to find out who I am. I mean, today, although I would say I'd like to be thinner, I'm much less preoccupied with my weight than I have ever been. I mean, I go to the beach, I swim, I bike, I wear shorts. I mean, I wouldn't wear shorts when I was a teenager. I wouldn't wear shorts when I was married. And I was so much less weight.
A lot of that comes with just simple chronologic maturity.
But the other part of it is that my lifestyle is such that I have a wide variety of friends I date men who are younger. I mean, I'm 44. I'll go out with somebody 25.
I have done that too.
You know,
How many of us have friends who are what we consider in a real normal range who think that they're fat?
Oh, I have a friend
Well,
who is constantly talking to me about 5 pounds.
And
I mean,
won't
5
wear
pounds is-
shorts and won't wear a bathing suit?
5 pounds is 50. It's 500. I mean, as far as she's concerned, 5 pounds. You know, I was going to ask a question before, and you've reminded me about that. And you and I have talked about this. You know what I'm going to say. I said, what happened when I lost weight and you didn't? I mean, what happens in relationships when people have been fat together, as you and I were?
Eating
Very
buddies?
much. Yeah. Well, and we were dressing together, buddies. We would go shopping together, and we would commiserate with one another all the time about it. And then what happened?
I didn't like you.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't like you.
Yeah.
I've had to watch about myself with that with clients. To be very careful if I have been heavier than when I was heavier, and I had a client who lost 90 pounds, that I didn't sabotage that.
That you didn't sabotage.
Yeah, because even though consciously I could do that, I really got feedback from other people as often as I could so that I didn't do it at another level. Because I think that does happen.
Now, I know that you have a thin sister, and I know that you have a thin sister.
I do too.
You have a thin sister too?
What
I say I
about
don't have
you?
a sister.
I don't have a sister.
I don't have a
a
sister.
brother.
Well, if I had a sister, they'd be thin.
My sister
you
weighed
don't.
200 pounds.
Right.
And lost weight.
Right.
And through all kinds of various manners tried to keep her weight down desperately, got herself sick trying to keep it down.
She
And
had
has-
surgery or
Yeah, but she's turned her life around now to the point, she's made all the inner changes that have to be made.
She's 110 pounds, and she stays there. She exercises regularly. She eats right. She doesn't binge. She has gone through long therapy and made enough real
Clear internal changes to a much nicer person than she ever was.
but she's a thin person, and she stays that way. And it was, was hard for me in the beginning when she did. I don't think I've ever admitted this in public. It really was hard for me in the beginning. How come she could do it and I couldn't?
Right.
What was there? It was always somebody else who could. I never could see myself. When I was doing hypnosis and they had you image yourself thin, I never could project, couldn't see a thin me, even in fantasy.
Does that mean maybe that you can't be thin?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
No. Then I couldn't see. Now I can
Oh,
see.
now you can see. Okay.
Now I like my sister, too.
Okay.
Thin.
I have a thin sister, but she's always been thin. And it's been my nemesis that I have this thin, beautiful sister, older than me. And I could
You
never...
are just as beautiful as your sister.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, probably so. I mean, I won't dispute that. It's just that she was always thin and I was always fat. And
There was always a faint air about her towards you, about your inability.
she was the one who said I wasn't very nice when I got thin.
Oh, probably was very unhappy for her.
Yeah.
really was
Well,
terrible
maybe
for her.
you're not so nice.
Maybe I wasn't.
Did she try to
Maybe you're
sabotage?
Not so
when you
nice
were
to
thin?
others.
Yes, she did, but I don't think she did that consciously, But my whole family did try to sabotage me when I was thin. They really did. They did. They always wanted me to be thin.
Yeah.
When I got there, nobody was happy that I was there.
The family's not used to thinking and acting in those new ways either.
It changes the whole structure.
Any kind of
Oh,
change
yes.
is
Yes.
scary.
The sad thing for my sister is that she has a daughter who is heavy. No, that's not. Her daughter is very well adjusted being heavy, but my sister is not adjusted to her daughter being heavy.
When I had lost the weight recently from the surgery, my son was so supportive. It was just incredible. And his friends, these are 17 and 18-year-old boys, that they would see me, oh, wow, Mrs. Wags, look at you, you're really getting down there. And they'd come over and they'd think up all these exercise programs that I should do to help, condition the body and tone the flesh. Except they forgot that I wasn't trying out for the football team. I mean, these were definitely muscle building exercises. But the support that I did receive, I felt bad that maybe I let these people down. And if I did, I'm sorry. But I'm still me, and I'm still what I am inside. And that's more important.
Well, I had an interesting problem, which was that my daughter, who was in her late teens and early 1920 at the time, never had to compete with her mother in any way. I mean, she loves me, and we have a wonderful relationship, and she always looked up to me for other things that I did, but she always had a cute figure, never had a problem. And once I got down to a size range where we could even put on each other's clothes occasionally, suddenly she became very competitive. And the fact that I was dating younger men, it really blew her mind, I think.
She also got very, very thin.
You're right. When I started losing weight, she didn't need to, but she lost 20 pounds. And, but in a sense, I considered that part of her identification with me, that I was losing weight, so she had to, even though, her own image was that she had to be smaller. But I never competed with my daughter before. And suddenly I found myself, she was wearing heels and doing things that I thought were inappropriate for her age at the time, but she was doing it because I was doing it. I did a little of the other thing too.
She thought what you were doing was inappropriate
Right.
for your age at the
That's- yeah,
time.
right.
I mean, I went through that with my children.
Did you? Right. How do your children handle the fact that you don't look like what the mommies on television look like?
Well, my children didn't like my being fat, but then again, my children also didn't like the fact that their mommy wasn't like other mommies anyway. I started college
You had that.
at 31.
Oh, I went back at 25.
Yeah, and I was an artist originally, and so my first class was actually stone carving and welding. And I lived in the suburbs at the time, and I wasn't a suburbanite personality.
Yeah.
And they didn't like the fact that I had black friends and I had, homosexual friends and that I had young friends. I mean, the whole thing to them was very difficult.
Oh, my kids kind of like that.
But my kids were younger, I think, at the time than your children were.
Maybe.
And they were 8 and 10 at the time, and there was a lot of controversy.
A lot of peer pressure
And
at that
peer
age.
pressure and a lot of family. I mean, the family, it was a very hard time for all of us. And it was hard for me because I had no sense of who I was. When I look back, I think that to bring the topic back to being Jewish again, that probably the only thing that was fairly constant, although I've never been religious, has been the fact that I was Jewish and that was a part of my identity when I was looking for all these other identities.
Other identities?
Right, at the time. Now my children and I are close friends, and there's not that same kind of thing in that.
I don't think my children mind that I'm fat. They don't seem to find that, you hear the story about children who don't want to bring their mother to school because they don't want everybody to see they have a heavy mother. I don't think that ever was any factor in their consideration of me. However, they're very supportive when I'm trying to lose, and they are very encouraging when I'm trying to lose, but they accept me the way I am. They really seem to.
And you think that's always been that way?
My son said when he was really little, at the point where I was really much heavier than I am, that he used to like how comfortable I was. It was soft like a pillow. And he used to like that a whole lot. And he was a little unhappy to lose some of that softness when I lost weight. But they were also a little self-conscious when it came to walking down the block
When
and
they're
mommy
younger.
in her tent dress and when they
When
were
they're
little.
younger.
Yeah.
Did you have an experience with your?
No, just a little, there was some discomfort with it for him.
It's from the
As-
other kids.
Right. As he grew older, and I'm impulsive and I can change my direction midstream, if we're all set to do something. Somebody comes up with a better idea. Oh, let's do this instead. Sure, let's go. And it's made up for some of the things, and I've always been willing for him to have 2 or 3 other kids tagging along. We go apple picking. And these kids, they want to go because we have so much fun. I mean, where can you get teenagers to go doing something like apple picking?
No.
They love it. We bring wine, cheese. They must eat 2 bushels before we even get out the gate.
That's all food again.
It's fun, but
Right.
it's a fun thing. And if you're fun to be with, and it's comfortable to be with, I think they reach a point that it really doesn't matter what you are.
There's a myth about fat people. I mean, everybody's always talking about how mythical it is, a jolly fat person and whatever. How hard do we work to be happy so that other people will want to be with us even though we're fat?
75% of the
I
time.
think all of
75% of the time?
Probably.
All of us have made jokes about fatness along the way. Joan and I both have little fat songs that we know, making fun of
Which
ourselves.
I might get you to do.
Oh, no. I don't ever sing in public. I leave that to my sister, the thin one.
You have to work at it.
Well, but I'm saying is there something that we do more? Do we put out more? Are we put out more goodies to other people? Are we nicer to people? Do we go out of our way for them more so that they should like us in spite of?
I think so.
Do we do
Yes.
that anyway without the fat?
I don't know.
I do.
I'm a real
I do.
taker
Well, you see, I
carer.
still feel, as I say, the
Well,
15
no.
pounds is right here.
I don't feel that I do. I really
Well,
don't.
maybe, is that what your
I-
family meant when you were
I
nasty
think
when you
people
were?
accept me for other reasons.
Are you a Jewish mother? A taker carer of?
Sure.
Am I a
Oh,
you
absolutely.
know.
Oh,
Am I
absolutely.
a taker
Because I
carer?
think
Am
that's
I-
what we're
am I
talking
not?
about. Am I not?
Sure, I mean, the 3 of us that I do know, and I'm making assumptions perhaps about the rest of you. Yes, we take care of other people. We go out of our way.
But I would do that whether I
solving the
would, if I
problems
was
of the
thin
world.
too.
Part of me to do
Yeah,
that.
that has nothing to do with being
Other
fat.
people don't
No,
do that.
that's, wait,
That's not
no,
the same.
that's not entirely true. Go.
Well, in weight groups that I've done with people, I mean, that comes out a lot, is that people who are fat, now it may be a whole dynamic that the people would do it anyway, even if they weren't fat. But it's like, I go out of my way, I'll give you things, I'll be there for you, I want to make sure that you like me. And by the way, I also know that for years, I was sure people wouldn't remember me, which is incredible because everybody always remembers me. And because I make sure they remember me. And if they don't remember me for my personality or for my intelligence or my smile, they'll remember me and notice me for my size.
Right.
Because
Yeah, that
I'll be
is-
different. Without a judgment put on it, I can be different. Being big is different, and it makes you stand out.
Yeah, I know. I've been
Especially, you know.
told that too. But I'm not so sure, you know, you say that it's because we're big that we give. Maybe it's the other way around. Maybe that is the nature of the kind of person who is going to get heavy is someone who is giving and caring about other people.
That's unfair to all the thin people of the world who happen to be
Are
giving
giving.
and
All right,
caring.
all right.
But it
I
may be
mean,
connected is possible, I'm
There's a
sure.
possibility.
It's as equally unfair to heavy people.
How much do we give to ourselves?
Well, but yeah, that was my next. Good. That's all right.
Well, I think that we're fat because we don't think about ourselves enough first. I mean, maybe
Yeah,
that's
I
maybe
became more
that's-
narcissistic.
Maybe that's the training I get from the TOPS groups and the other groups I go to. But they tell you that you got to think about yourself first, and the thin people think about themselves first. Thin women think about what they have to eat before they
Right.
shop for their
That's
families.
right.
And heavy women think about everyone else in the family and what they want
And what
before
they
they
like.
think about
Okay,
themselves.
you say that's narcissistic.
No, I
Okay,
didn't
you
say. I said
become-
that I felt when I was taking care of myself, first of all, I was basically alone, although I occasionally had a child wander in and out to live with me, was that I was more narcissistic. I was paying more attention to my clothes, I was paying more attention to what I ate, and I wasn't buying things for other people to please them.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, occasionally my kids would walk in and they're used to having a full refrigerator. I had a guest once in my house, and he walked in and he opened up the refrigerator. He comes from out of town. He said, "This used to be one of the great refrigerators of all time.
Yeah,
Whatever
right.
happened to it?"
Right.
And I said, "I'm not into eating. And I'm not into food." But when my kids would come in, I run out to the store, and it still happens. I run out to the store and I stock the house with foods that my children like to eat, so that it should be there. And of course, they happen to be foods that I like to eat because I raised them, right? I find that if everybody leaves me alone and I don't have to cook for anybody, and I can just pay attention to me, I don't have to eat a lot of things. But the minute somebody comes into my life that I care about, I want to feed them.
Well, that's part of it for me. I want to feed them. But the other part is I think that when somebody comes into my life and comes into my space and into my world, I'm also a little bit more anxious. And I have to deal with issues of control.
Uh-huh.
And I don't have to worry just about controlling me anymore. I have to worry about controlling them and compromising, and all these other things come up. And I want to eat more when I'm faced with those things.
Control seems to be a major issue for a Jewish woman. Is it a major issue for women in general, or is it?
No, not necessarily. I know that it is a major issue for Jewish women. No, because people don't feel that they need it as much. I don't know what
I don't
your
know. I
experience
think
is
that the
therapeutically.
control is a big issue for women in general because women have never
Yeah, but some-
felt that they've had much control.
That's true, but some women don't want it. Don't want the control. They want somebody to be controlling and telling them, whereas Jewish women seem to have a problem about letting anybody else control them or letting
Okay.
things just happen.
They have to control it. And it's interesting because I did write a paper on obesity. And one of the things that I talked about was that if I can't feel that I can control myself, the most I can try to do, at least I can try to control my surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so that people often tend to control others. Fat people
Yes.
tend to control others. And probably, and you say, people say you're softer. Well, people also say I'm softer as I've gotten my life more together. And although I feel much
Well,
stronger,
right.
but I think my need to control others has gone down as I feel a little bit more in control of my life and
Perhaps
myself.
that's so. I was thinking to myself that the times when I used to get crazy for food were when I was so tired and that I didn't know what to do next. I wanted someone to come, anybody, to come and put it in front of me. And then I would have eaten anything. If it was no peas or lettuce or whatever, it would have made no difference. But because there wasn't anybody to do that for me, then I would grab anything that was there that was quick, or if it was soup, if it was oral and it was quick and it slipped slidey down, then I had no control over how much of it I was eating, because I just wanted to get that space inside of me filled up so that I wasn't so tired and anxious. And
Well, sometimes it's a good reason to sit down too. When I smoked, I mean, I would often say, oh, I'll do it after I have this next cigarette. I rest.
I had heard a little key word in terms of weight loss, that halt is the word. Don't let yourself get too hungry, too anxious, too lonely, or too tired, because those are the 4 danger areas that lead toward
Interesting.
eating.
But I think we also have to know that thin people also get tired.
of course, but they don't
And
necessarily
they also eat.
Well, but
And they
They
also
can't eat the way
they
we
eat
do.
slip
About a
slidey
pattern.
foods, right? But they know when to stop. And certainly studies have shown that fat people are much more affected by external factors than people of normal weight. And so, what reminded me of that was when you said you could put down anything in front of you. If you put down anything in front of a fat person, if you put down 2 sandwiches, most of us would probably just eat 2 sandwiches. If you put down a half
That's
a
right.
sandwich, we'd eat a half a sandwich. Whereas a person of average weight will stop when they're full. I don't know when I'm full many times, most times. And if I do know, I don't listen to
How
it.
many times has there been food out and you've eaten it and not even realized you've eaten it?
Right.
Many times.
many times.
But it's interesting that you ate less when you were alone. I don't
Yes,
know about the
that's true.
rest of you, but I eat more when I'm alone. That's when I do
Yeah.
all my bad eating, is when I'm alone. I'm a sneaky eater.
But you
I'm
don't
a
live alone.
lonesome eater.
Right?
I don't live alone. No,
You
I have a
did
big
live alone,
family.
didn't you? When you were talking about that,
Yes.
there's a difference.
There's a difference?
The difference is that those times are the only times maybe that you have alone. We have lots of space alone in our lives.
I don't eat
To regulate.
in the house. I have no food. I only eat when I'm out. I only eat when I'm
Why
cooking
don't
for
you
other
have
people.
any food in the house?
Because I have time.
Why don't you have any food in the house?
I don't have time to eat.
You don't stay home.
That's right. I
You
know.
eat out.
Okay, and I don't have food in my house a lot because it's tempting. And I need to know that sometimes I'm very vulnerable. And that, I think, is one of the advantages to being older, is learning
What's to
that
stop you
stuff.
from getting up and going out and getting something?
What's to stop me
wouldn't do
is
that. I'm
that,
too tired.
that I have to really want it so bad that I'm lazy. I mean, at some level. And that also, I mean, certainly studies show that. I mean, if I've had to convince myself that, I say, Gail, you have a car, you have 2 legs, you can go anywhere you want. There are places open all night long. If you get hungry, you can always go out and get something to eat. And I don't have to eat now. And if any of you here are like me, many times I eat because I don't know if I'm going to have time to eat later. And I
Yes.
better have it now.
Right.
I will not eat tonight till 8 o'clock, and I
mean-
haven't eaten all day.
Okay. How many of you carry big shopping bags or big purses with stuff that you
No.
might need later? I mean, or things.
No, I've never
Not
carried
food.
food. and
Not
never
Not
carried.
food, not food.
Oh, not food. Okay.
Not food.
No,
I
we
mean,
don't
I
carry
don't know. I have a car. I can, I could probably go to California tonight and never go to my house and get anything from my house because I can probably find a change of clothes in the trunk of my car somewhere.
Oh, no.
I can. Well, I'm a schlepper. You know, just like I schlep extra weight, I schlep extra things with me.
So, do you think?
So by not having some of that food around, sometimes saves me at times.
I heard a really cute story about a woman who did just what. She kept her house empty of food because she didn't want to eat anything bad, and in the middle of the night she got one of those things where she wanted to eat and there was nothing, so she decided she was going to go out to the convenient and went out and her car wouldn't start. So she went back in the house and she was really upset, and finally what she did was she called up and sent herself a candygram. If we want to eat, we will eat. We'll find
But
a
it
way.
takes a lot more energy, and sometimes for me that time in between makes a difference.
Yeah, taking the time.
Giving myself
To make the
permission to eat it
decision.
if I want to eat it, but saying, okay, wait 5 minutes, and if you still want it, you can have anything. Sometimes I don't want it in 5 minutes. It's the impulsive part of me
Are
that
we all
sometimes
impulsive?
takes over.
Are we all impulsive? I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
You impulsive?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's another, are Jewish women
But that's
impulsive?
also, but that's spontaneous. I mean, that's a part of us that we could look at as real good. Spontaneous, alive, impulsive.
I'll go to the store, be in a really good mood, and come home with all these really good things, and my son will take a look at the groceries as he carries them in and drop some of it in the garbage. He says, we don't need this.
Oh, he knows.
You know, we've done this as an hour, and we're coming to a close now. And
An
I
hour?
wanted, yes,
We've been talking
we
an
have been
hour?
talking for an hour, and I
See
told
how
you this
mouths
is going to
go?
happen. Right, when we're talking, we
And
don't
I
have to
didn't
eat.
sing my song.
Right, that's true. And we're going to have to close, and I just want to thank you all very much, and hope that you've helped a lot of people out there, and I know that it's been fascinating for all of us. If you like this show and would like to let us know how you liked it and other shows that you might be interested in, please write to WJUF at 1 South Franklin, Chicago, Illinois, 60606. This is Audrey Gordon for Sunrise Sunset, the Jewish Family in Transition, and thank you.